Well, let's take a look at what is happening in the markets, and we start off with the local market. And of course, an influence of that is trade data from China, which came out for March. And we did see exports rising more than had been expected and imports falling more than expected. And we do have the JSE. They're seeing sharp gains on the day of almost 3%. Really good picture that we are seeing there. That largely coming from the financial 15, and I'm sure that also has a lot to do with the influence of the strength of the rand that has surged more than 4.5%. Industrial 25 climbing by almost 3.5%, but backing that overall trend is the Resources 10 complex that has seen a loss just shy of 1%. Let's take a look at what is happening in the U.S. markets. And of course, the markets are trading off of the U.S. Trump administration temporarily exempting tariffs on tech and electronics products. Of course, that being good for the tech counters. But of course, some more clarity will be coming through, I guess, in the next week or next few days or so on that. But markets are celebrating that newest development. We do have the S&P 500 there up by more than 1%, the tech-heavy Nasdaq with a gain of almost 1%, and the Dow rallying by more than 0.8%. Of course, part of that rally being the U.S. earnings that did kick off last Friday, and we have seen the big banks coming through with earnings beats, including JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs. Let's check in on the markets across the Atlantic, and talking about earnings, of course, those also kicking off in Europe, and we do have luxury behemoth LVMH coming out with numbers after the markets are closed today. Of course, investors had been worried in that sector about the impact of tariffs, but also still the spending landscape of the Chinese consumer. But those markets on a high today. We do have the DAX leading those gains, surging by almost 3%. A climb on the CAC 40 of more than 2.5%, and the FTSE 100 popping by more than 2%. Let's check in on the currency scene and start off with how the rand is doing against some of the major currencies. Significant strength coming through to the rand. Of course, we had seen it at some point, I think in the last week or week and a half, knocking on that 20 rand level against the US dollar. But now a pleasing picture below 19 rand against the US dollar at 18 rand 84. The rand against the pound at 24 rand 83, and the local unit against the euro at 21 rand 42. Let's take a look on how the other currency pairs are doing, starting off with the euro dollar at 1.13, pound dollar at 1.31. Of course, we had seen those two currencies also strengthening significantly against the US dollar and the yen actually as well. That strengthened up to over 142 against the US dollar, level that we haven't seen in quite a while.